What's going on, people? Welcome back to Mandem Football. It's your boy Demeachnyc here. Follow me, like, comment, and subscribe on the video at the end or right now if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram at Demeachnyc and also look me up on Twitter and follow me there so you can get my insight and more in-depth perspectives and game analysis on Twitter. And this video is going to be, quite an easy video because it's already in the title. This game is going to be a classic. I am so looking forward to this game. Newcastle versus Tottenham Hotspur at St. James Park. If you're living in the United States or if you're living anywhere close to me, you know that you have to wake up quite early for this game. I think it's nonsense, but it is what it is. And this game is going to be fireworks. I'm just going to say here already, this game is going to be a firecracker of a match. Newcastle and Spurs, they know how to put the ball to the back of the net, but what is the underlying thing is, can they defend? How can both these teams defend? And we already know that Spurs are not really looking at how they defend. They're just looking at getting the goals in the back of the net. And Newcastle, well, even though they can defend better, they definitely know how to score goals as well. If you look at the managers, both of these managers love to score goals. They don't really like to control games. They don't really care about having possession of the ball like that. They just like to put the ball in the back of the net. Fox in the box teams, right? They rely on guys like Isak, guys like Dominic Solanke. They rely on so much on Anthony Gordon, Dejan Kulusevski, Son and Joe Linton, Timo Werner, guys like all of these guys that just score goals in the transition, or when the ball is put into the box, someone's going to get behind it and score. It's going to be a great game. And I'm hearing a lot of things about, the big one, which is obviously Liverpool versus Manchester United. We know the history and the rivalry, and I get that. I understand that completely. I think it's going to be a huge game, and, we'll see what happens with that. I assume Liverpool will beat Manchester United. That's obviously a given. But if you're looking at this Spurs and Newcastle game, this game is going to be crazy. And I'm only saying this because, we've seen this season what both teams are able to do when they have the ball in the upper third. They'll score, right? It's always like, how can these teams defend, but how can these teams actually play in different phases of play, right? Like the midfield, can they control the game? Is there any control? Is there any tempo? Is there anything rhythmically that they can do with the ball? Passing it from one end of the field to the other, side to side, all that. We see teams like Arsenal and Liverpool and, Aston Villa, Brighton, Manchester City be able to do that well, be able to control the game because their midfield is on point. But when I'm looking at teams like uh, Chelsea and teams like Newcastle and Spurs, where it's like, they're good teams, but they don't necessarily rely too heavily on how their midfield is. Like, not everything is so crafted perfectly. They just rely on the transition a lot, and that is definitely Spurs, and that definitely is Newcastle because they have the players to do it. They have explosive players like Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak, who just transform Newcastle and make Newcastle a good team who is rightfully in fifth place. But the game at hand, I cannot wait for this. I think Eddie Howe and Ange Postecoglou are going to cook up a great game for both these teams. And I think for the audience and for the viewers, it's going to be a cracker of a game. The unfortunate thing is that this game is going to be the first game played for the Premier League fixtures this weekend, so it's not going to be at 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning or in the afternoon if you're living in the United States or wherever, but it's going to be at like 6:30, 7:30 in the morning, which is just god awful. If you're anywhere near me, that's going to be a tough one to wake up that early in the morning to watch this game. Other than that, though, like, I'll be up, I'll be watching this game. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be unreal. And, the likes of Isak, like I said, Anthony Gordon for Spurs, the likes of Son and James Madison and, Dejan Kulusevski and Brennan Johnson, like, it's just going to be nuts. I think these guys are going to score goals back and forth. It's going to be a basketball game, very similarly to what we saw against Chelsea and Spurs, where like it's just back and forth, end to end. They have the players to do so. So I can't wait for this game. If I have to make a prediction, I'm gonna go. I would wish that this game was like a 6-5, 6-4, but I'm gonna go 5-4 Newcastle, only because I think Newcastle just edged both teams in quality. I think they edge defending, but who am I to say defending? I mean, if I think you're gonna let in 4 goals and score 5, then the defense can't really be the reason why you win the game. And we already see what Newcastle can do in attack. I mean, 2 seasons ago, it wasn't long ago, where Newcastle scored 5 goals against Spurs in the first 25 minutes of the game, and they won the game 6-1. So we know what Newcastle can do from goals. But now we're in 2025, and Spurs have the second most goals in the Premier League this season. They have 41 goals scored this season, guys. Liverpool have the only record for the most goals scored this season. They have 45 goals, right? And that's Liverpool, who's in first place. Spurs are in 11th place. 11th place with the second most goals scored this season. Can you believe that? Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City, Villa, Nottingham Forest, all these other teams that can score goals don't have as many goals scored as Tottenham Hotspur, who have 41, and Liverpool have 45, and Liverpool are in first place. It's unbelievable. It's just, can both teams defend well? Can both teams get control of this game? Can both teams really dictate how this game's going to go? I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I think that's going to be way out the window. And I think this is just going to be a firecracker game. And if you're up at that time to watch the Premier League, then by all means go for it, because it's going to be nuts. If this was at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, then I think this would be a lot more of what I am saying. And this will prove my point even more, because at that stadium, anything can go on. But at St. James Park, I think Newcastle are going to take this game for sure. And it's just going to be a great game overall. And I think this is going to definitely be my game of the week. But besides that, if you're really looking forward to this Manchester United-Liverpool match, by all means, I completely understand. But my prediction for that game is going to be 5-0 Liverpool. I think Liverpool are going to smack Manchester United. And I said before in the previous video that anything but a smacking for Manchester United, if they come out of that game with a win, then that's like a miracle, honestly. But if Manchester United don't get smacked at least by 3 goals, then they can at least give themselves a pat on the back for not getting smoked by like 3-4 goals, because Liverpool at the moment are just so devastating, and Manchester United, they just look so bad. So, that can be a crazy game, and I might be wrong. That might be the biggest game of the weekend, because that game could be an 8-0, 7-0, 6-0, who knows. But this game in particular, I think, is going to be a basketball match. Newcastle versus Spurs. My prediction is 5-4. And that's what I got for today, folks. I cannot wait to see y'all after the weekend, because I cannot wait. Other games this week is going to be Arsenal against Brighton. I think that's going to be more of a chess match, because both teams like to really have the ball at their feet and really like to dictate and control the games in possession. Manchester City versus West Ham. Let's just say Manchester City. Although last time they did play, it was a close, tight game, because last time they played West Ham, Manchester City, Mohamed Kudus and several other players for West Ham had a lot of opportunities, but just didn't put the game away. And that was at London Stadium. That's not the case now. So it's going to be played at the Etihad, and I think Manchester City are going to get their groove back, and they're going to win that game easy. Chelsea against Crystal Palace. Chelsea lost both their games against Fulham and Ipswich, so hopefully they get their groove back against Crystal Palace. So I think they're going to win that game. Other than that, though, I cannot wait for the Premier League this weekend. A great way to end the Premier League going into the international duty. So take care, like, comment, and subscribe in the video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care.